Good evening, everybody, and happy Halloween.
Yeah, surprise! Typically the show ends na at like 9 p.m. Pero clingy kami. We didn't want to leave you behind, especially since it is Halloween. A lot of people have been asking for it. They wanted more of Mike. And also Lexi din naman.
Yeah, so for one night only, you have us back on the airwaves. I was gonna say if I'm back in your bed, but that was
Well,
never a thing.
Well, if you want us to be.
Oh man. Yep. So for one night only, this is the Halloween special Freaky Friday. Before we start, of course, big thanks to Spookify.
Yeah, Spooky5PH on Facebook. It's an amazing page. You can browse a ton of scary stories right there. And also, of course, Reddit, where we're getting some of our stories too.
That's right. Our first story for tonight, I got it from the subreddit Let's Not Meet, which, by the way, I don't suggest reading the stories by yourself at night because that's what happened to me. I'm running on zero sleep right now.
Kaya ka pala ganyan. Kaya pala nahihirapan tayo dito.
That's right. So our first story is from Theater Guy, and it's called Look at Me. This happened in my junior year of high school. One evening, my mother and stepfather had gone out to some event. Maybe it was an extended dinner or a concert. It's hard to remember. I'd stayed home to work on a paper that was due the next day. I was one of those kids who procrastinated until the last minute, typical high
Yeah.
school student,
Mhm.
and the whole night spent the whole night working at the desk in my room. To give you a picture of the room, my desk faces a wall and sits next to a small window that's on the same wall. And from where I sit, my back faces the doorway. So, basically, hindi niya nakikita yung
I
door.
wouldn't want to do that though.
Yeah,
I don't. I want to know what's happening on my door.
Yeah, my bed faces my door and my desk is like adjacent so that I can always see what's coming. Oh man. And while I was working, I was wearing these great headphones that I'd gotten for my birthday, the kind that are noise canceling. My parents left the house around 6 p.m., and the whole time, while they were gone, I sat at my desk, blasting music through my headphones and writing my essay. Occasionally, I would take breaks and watch the rain and lightning outside my window. There was a big storm that night. I never left my desk. My parents returned around 11 p.m. At some point, late in the evening, I'd removed my headphones. So when my parents came home, coincidentally, just a few minutes after I'd taken off my headphones, I clearly heard the garage door open, and my parents opened the door to the house. Seconds after I hear them enter, I hear my mother shout my name. "Adrian!" she screams. "What on earth happened in here?" Confused, I get out of my chair and start walking through the house to them. There's only a small hallway that separates my room from the living room. Due to my rush to figure out why my mom was yelling, I paid little attention to the hall and the house. After a few minutes, I get to my parents. My mom looks livid. She's pointing at the carpet floor, yelling, "Was this you? Did you have friends over?" I look down. The carpet is ruined. It's covered in muddy footprints.
I frankly explained to her that I have no idea how those got there, that I spent the whole night at my desk working on my paper. I watch as her face goes from anger to confusion to fear. We realize that someone else must have entered the house. Quickly, we scan the footprints, trying to make sense of the situation. It only takes us a few moments to figure out where they start. Our back door, which we usually left unlocked. Then we noticed something else. The footprints started at the back door, but there were no footprints exiting the back door.
Ooh, so that means whoever it is still inside the house.
Yeah, you have to keep your back doors clean.
Closed.
We hear something pounding through our house. We hear the front door get torn open, then slam shut with a sharp wham. We all run to the garage and lock the door. My mom starts shouting at the police with the phone, "Please, please come quickly. Someone's broken into our house." After what seems like hours, the police finally arrives. An officer stays with us in the garage as his partner goes to the house room by room. His partner tells us it's safe to go back in, that there's no one else inside the house. Then she asks us a question. She asks us whose room is down the hall to the left. My parents look at me, and I tell the officer that's mine. She asks us to follow her down the hall. As we go, it's easy to see that the footprints weave through my house from the back door. They go to the living room, to the small hallway, into my parents' room, which is down the hall to the right, and then turn around towards my room. They stop in my doorway. Then the officer points at my door, which I had left open the whole night. On it, black marker was written with the following. My log, 8:47. I see you. 8:53. You forgot to lock the back door. 8:59. You seem focused. 9:24. Turn around. 9:47. Look at me. 10:15. Look at me. 10:37. Look at me. 10:49. Look at me. For nearly 2 hours, someone stood in my doorway, watching me.
Oh my gosh. And he left the log
At least
on your door.
At least it was polite. Diba?
What was polite about that?
He didn't interrupt the person from
Studying.
doing their homework. Oh, like, I know you're busy.
Just ano. Pero, if somebody, that prickling feeling that you get in the back of your neck pag merong nakatingin sa'yo or
Like what we're
some-
feeling now.
Why would you say that?
Ah,
There are no dares today, right?
I'd like to hope so.
All right. That was our first story again from Theater Guy. Look at me. You can find it on the subreddit Let's Not Meet. We have more stories on deck. Make sure you keep it locked in. When we return, it's Freaky Friday. Welcome back to Freaky Friday. You've got Mike and Lexi on deck. This is the Halloween special, an hour long for one night only.
Yeah, we collected our favorite stories from the internet to share with all of you. And this is one that I think would scare the bejeebus out of you.
Bejeebus?
Bejeebus.
Bejeebus. Why are you making up your own words?
Bejeebus.
Okay, so this story is by Maltese Panda. It's called You Made the Right Decision. I know somebody made a wrong decision here. I've always had an innate fear of the night. Not so much the dark, but the night itself. As a child, my imagination was overcome with stories of creatures that come alive at night and the safety offered by a house and light. I never had anything to base this fear on until a night when I decided to go with a buddy of mine to a baseball game and got stuck at a red light at 2 a.m. after dropping him off at home. Of course, that night, the game went into extra innings, and so I didn't get a chance to drop my friend off back home until well after 1 a.m. Everything was fine on the way home until I hit a light right before the street that led to my house. It was a T junction, and I was turning left. T.
So parang ano, you may dead end sa dulo and you either turn left or right.
Okay. The light is one of those that you think is broken until it finally turns green right when you finally decide to just run it. Of course, I pulled up right as the light turned red. I would have just run the light, seeing as no one was there and it was closing in on 2 a.m. on a school night. But earlier that week, I'd heard the phrase, "Character is what you do when no one is looking." And for whatever reason, that was the night I decided to prove to myself that I was a man of character. Big mistake. I pulled to a stop at the light, feeling good about myself, bordering on self-righteous, when I happened to look out my window to my left and noticed a lady sitting all alone on a bus bench.
This is 2 a.m., right?
This is 2 a.m.
That's when you drive away.
That's when you... Kung sa Philippines, hindi na siya tumigil.
Oo, tuloy-tuloy na yan.
We made brief eye contact and I quickly looked away. It was too late. Why would you look? I could see movement out of my peripheral vision and knew she was coming my way. I looked out the window and noticed she was carrying a bag. I quickly checked that my doors were locked and all my windows were up. I then moved my right foot above the accelerator, just in case, and braced myself for what was to come. I was hoping it would be just an awkward exchange and was praying for a quick light change before she reached me so I could just get out of there. I knew that there was a slim chance of that.
She walked right up to my window, put down her bag, and began to tap my window. I nervously looked up at her, and then she motioned for me to put my window down. Don't. I had automatic windows, so I just imagined pushing too hard on the window button and that thing just coming all the way down.
Di ba may ibang cars na parang automatic? Yung pag press mo, biglang
Tuloy-tuloy na
bababa.
siya.
Yeah.
So I took a deep breath and lightly flicked it with my finger. The window moved microscopically down, but she did not seem to notice or care. She then leaned in and began to talk. She said, "My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives down the street. Can you please give me a ride?" I should stop and give a brief physical description of the bag lady. She was small, skinny, and of indeterminate age. She was either in her mid-20s and had lived a hard 20 plus years in the street, or she was a 60-something-year-old who had lived a moderately hard life on the street. All that to say, just by looking at her, there was no way to really verify her story. She looked beat up by life, not just by a boyfriend. But there was something about her delivery. It was robotic and seemed practiced, and like she was disconnected from that moment, and that made my skin crawl. And after a brief, around a second debate on whether I should do it, I told her I had to get home and could not give her a ride.
After my first refusal, she leaned in closer and said the same thing again. "My boyfriend beat me up. I have a friend who lives down the street. Can you give me a ride?" This time, I felt more confident when I declined to give her a ride and told her I had a curfew and had to get home. She leaned in a third time and began her statement again. "My boyfriend beat me." At this point, the light changed. I slowly lifted my foot off the brake and started slowly rolling forward and began muttering an apology. She didn't move. She just looked at the light, then looked down at me, leaned in closer, and said 5 words that have haunted me ever since. "You made the right decision."
Oh. Alright, so I can make the assumption. Like, I don't, what do you think she was, what do you think
I don't
would have
know.
happened if she was
Honestly,
let
I
in?
don't even know if she was like a real person.
And,
Like,
why
do you
does she
think?
keep bringing up the boyfriend
Why my boyfriend
beat
beat me? Well, it's like a sympathy
No,
thing.
pero like, what was the plan? Like, baka feeling ko, the place where she wants to be dropped off, someone will be waiting for him there.
Do you think? I don't know. For me kasi parang it's giving me not a real person vibes. Like, as soon as you let them in the car, it's like,
Like, I wouldn't know what I'd do though.
you
Like,
chose poorly.
Oh, oh my God.
Kinilabutan ako. Kinilabutan ako.
And I think that's what makes this story so interesting. Kasi
It
it's
is.
so open-ended. And
It
you can
is.
make your own interpretation on it.
Yeah, it's not great for people with such vivid imaginations
Imaginations.
like myself. If you like that one, make sure that you stick around. We have more stories on deck. Freaky Friday continues with Mike and Lexi. Again, this is the Halloween special for one night only, where we read out our top scary stories from the internet.
And the one we have lined up, the next two actually, are from Spookify on Facebook. And thank you very much for the wonderful resource. Do check them out. They have amazing stories like this one. So it's called The Picture of Death. As you can tell from the title alone, it's gonna be a fun ride.
Oh, yeah. Am I ready for this? I don't know. Okay.
All right. It's 3:38 a.m. This is my first time sending a confession. I'm Axel, a freelance photographer from Bulacan. It all started way back 6 months ago. Tapos na yung klase ko, so I've decided to kill some time and roam around with my girlfriend. While walking, may nakita kaming store. I can't really recall kung anong name, pero they sell things there.
I mean, it's a
You
store.
can make the assumption, yes, that is correct. Pero, to be specific kasi,
Ah.
my gadgets and stuffs,
Ah.
including cameras and accessories, nakita ko yung gusto kong model ng camera doon and nakasale, sakto. So to make the story short, I purchased it without thinking. Sana pala, hindi ko na ginawa. Sa lahat ng desisyon ko, Ito ang pinaka pinagsisisihan ko. Things started to get weird noong ginamit ko siya sa isang kasal. Since freelance photographer pa lang ako noon, mostly, tinatanggap ko yung mga i-offer sa akin para na rin ma-practice ko yung skills ko. Kasalan dati kong batchmate, yung kumuha sa akin bilang photographer. To be honest, everything went well. Hanggang sa i-edit ko na sana. One picture caught my attention. The photo of the bride and groom. Kitang-kita kong wala ng mata yung bride. Malinaw na wala na siyang mata doon sa litrato. Siyempre, dinilit ko yun kasi ang creepy. Kinabukasan, tumawag ang batchmate ko, napatay na yung bride. Car accident nang pauwi na sila. Upon the burial, lubog na parang napipi na yung mukha niya, especially sa part ng mga mata. Ang sabi, napuruhan daw ang ulo at durog ang mga mata niya.
Nanginginig ako na parang nanglalambot pag-uwi. Inisip ko na lang na coincidence lang siguro. I mean, would you if you were in his place? I wouldn't.
I think if she only died, I would think it's coincidence. But
Yeah.
the fact that her eyes got
It's
messed
her
up,
eyes. I would have told somebody. After a week, freelance model ang kinunan ko. Upon editing, may nakita akong nasa background. Parang veil yung suot, pero parang nadaan lang kasi blurred. Hindi ako kinabahan kasi nag-shoot kami sa medyo mataong lugar. Baka sakaling may dumaan lang. 2 days after the shoot, namatay yung model. Ewan ko kung ano yung kinamatay. Hindi din ako nagpunta sa burol or what. Basta ko na lang nabalitaan.
you know what? After the first incident, I would have thrown the camera away.
Yeah, exactly. Graduation ng kapatid kong si Air. Ako ang kumuha ng photos. This time, babaeng maganda ang nakita ko sa table ng mga guest of honor. On the spot ko siyang nakitang nung sumilip ako sa camera. Pero nung tiningnan ko naman, walang babaeng maganda doon at puro nasa mid-50s ang nakaupo. Nung nakauwi, hinanap ko yung shot na may babaeng maganda. That time, ang iniisip ko talaga kung namamaligno na ako or what. Same, bro. Pero hindi. Kitang-kita sa litrato na nandun nga yung babaeng maganda. Nung nag-zoom ako sa part na yon, ay natabig ko talaga yung iniinom kong tubig sa mesa. Ayun yung model na kinunan ko na namatay weeks ago. Ang bigat ng hininga ko nun nung naaalala kong may nag-appear na babaeng nakabelo sa isa sa mga kuha niya. At bago siya, bride ang kinunan kong namatay din sa aksidente. Nabuo na ang mga ideyang nasa isip ko. At kung may mamamatay na isa sa guest of honor sa graduation ng kapatid ko, iyon ang mag-a-appear sa susunod kong kukunan ng litrato. Katulad ng inaasahan ko, may isa pa sa mga guest of honors nga ang namatay. Dahil doon, bumalik ako sa shop na binilhan ko. Pero nung pumunta ako sa place, ibang shop na yung nandun. Bilihan na ng pet supplies. So, syempre, tinanong ko, asa na yung shop na dating nakatayo doon? Ang sabi ng owners, 5 years nang nakatayo yung shop nila doon.
What a huge red flag. Hindi ko alam anong gagawin ko noong mga oras na yon. Pero niisip kong itago na lang at wag na lang gamitin. Before ko patayin yung camera, isa-isa kong binura lahat ng kinuha ko gamit ng camera na yon. Alam kong may kung anong meron sa camera at hindi ko na babalakin pang alamin ang mga iyon. May dahilan kung bakit hindi pwedeng mag-cruise sa mundo nila sa atin. Pero isang litrato lang ang hindi ko mabura. Ang kuha ng sarili ko mula sa malayo habang natutulog. Hindi ko alam kung sino ang kumuha noon, pero alam kong may nakasilip sa bintana ko na parang matandang lalaki at wala na akong lakas na loob para i-zoom pa iyon. Alam ko na. Alam ko na. Pero thankful na din ako. At least hindi si Mama o si Bunso. Siguro nga hanggang dito na lang ako.
Oh my gosh. That gave me heebie-jeebies.
There's something about elderly men in photos that
Really, for me, it's women and children. They're a lot more scary. Kasi it's the hair. diba? It obscures their
Ah,
face, ganon.
yeah.
It's so
And the fact
scary.
that someone took a picture of him habang natutulog.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
Mahilig pa naman ako, like, because I have friends that are photographers.
Mm.
I buy parang vintage cameras,
Oo.
ganon. So, I'm never gonna do that
No,
again.
no, you can buy them the cameras. Just don't be the model.
Oh
Diba?
gosh, no, no. I don't want to be a part of this narrative. So, yes, hopefully you enjoyed that story. We have one more on deck. And how would we rate this story?
You know, I would give it solely a 4.5 because I know what a 5 looks like. I am so excited for our next story because I think that one is the best one I've had so far.
Oh man, I'm so glad that I'm wearing a cardigan today kasi sobrang kinikilabutan ako.
What would you give this one?
I would give it a solid 4 out of 5, and hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. So we have one more story lined up. Make sure that you keep it locked in. It's Freaky Friday with Mike and Lexi. I can't believe we're already at the last stretch of Freaky Friday for tonight. Again, you've got Mike and Lexi on deck. This is the Halloween special.
And syempre, we decided to save what I think is the best for last. Again, thank you for Spooky 5 for these stories. Please check them out. They're on Facebook. It's an amazing resource for all these spooky, horrifying stories.
Okay, so just to give you a backgrounder, we did choose our top scary stories from the internet. He hasn't read any of my stories. I haven't read any of his stories, but he swears this is the best one.
Yeah. Okay, let's get ready. After a very long day, finally...
Wait, title muna.
Ay, oo nga pala.
Okay.
Excited na ako eh.
Okay, go.
It's called Happy Meal. There we go. It's a very happy story, as you can tell. After a very long day, finally, it's time to go home. This is my favorite part of the day because I'm going to see my daughter again. Her name is Aisha, and she's 5 years old. She has her nanny na nagbabantay sa kanya every weekdays. We call her Yaya. Mabait naman si Yaya. Mula na nag-work ako 3 years ago, siya na yung nanny ni Aisha. Nag-drive-thru ako sa isang famous fast food chain to buy a Happy Meal for her.
Jollibee to.
As
Sure.
you can assume mo. Hindi, McDonald's Happy Meal. Kakalipat lang namin ni Aisha. Bumukod muna kami kila mama kasi mas malapit to sa work kaysa dun sa bahay nila mami. I entered our house only to find out na walang tao. Nasaan si Yaya at si Aisha? Yaya? Princess? Where are you? Nag-ikot-ikot ako sa sala at sa kusina. Then, napansin ko na bukas yung kwarto namin ni Aisha. Ayun, tulog na pala siya. Nakatalikod siya sa akin tapos nakakumot. She's facing the wall. Grabe. I just love her long black curly hair.
Okay.
Then nag-sink in sa akin na iniwan siya ng Yaya na mag-isa. First time niyang iwan si Aisha ng ganito at kailangan ko siya makausap.
I immediately get my phone inside my bag at napansin ko na dead bat na. Di ko napansin kanina. Chinarge ko na lang at binuksan ko na lang ulit. Maglo-load pa naman yung phone so medyo matagal pa kaya dumiretso na lang ako sa banyo para makapagpunas na at magtanggal ng makeup. Ang lamig, lamig! Ang lamig-lamig! I started exclaiming kasi naman ang lamig sa kwarto namin. Electric fan lang naman pero sobrang lamig. Nagpalit na ako ng pantulog. Went out para ilagay sa ref yung Happy Meal and grabbed my phone para na din makapag-Facebook man lang bago matulog. Humiga na ako sa tabi ng anak ko, sabay pasok na din sa ilalim ng kumot. Habang nagfe-Facebook, nagsidatingan yung mga text na naipon habang patay yung cellphone ko. Puro text lang ng coworkers ko and isang text ni Yaya.
I hugged my daughter from behind habang nagbabasa ng mga texts. While twirling her hair in my fingertips, I smiled kasi I just can't tell you how much I love her. Bala ko pang hinigpitan ang yakap ko sa kanya. Sir, good PM po sir. Si Aisha sir, kinuha po ng mama nyo kaninang lunch kaya maaga na rin lang po ako umuwi sir. Nilak ko na po yung bahay sir kasi po sabi ng sir nyo, doon na daw po mag-overnight si Aisha. Thank you po sir. Text ni Yaya. I'm slightly stunned pero imposible naman to. Baka hinatid lang ni Mama pauwi si Aisha. Katabi ko nga siya eh. Hindi ko makakalimutan when I saw my mom video calling me on Facebook. Kinabahan na ako. Kaya dahan-dahan ako umupo sa gilid ng kama. Ang bilis ng tibok ng puso ko habang sinagot ko yung tawag niya.
Daddy! Hello! Bungad ng anak ko sa akin sa video call. Nanlaki yung mata ko. Nagulat ako. Hindi ko alam ang gagawin ko. Natatakot ako. Naiiyak ako. Papa, Lola said na dito na ako mag-sleep sa kanila because they miss me so much na daw. Ngingiti-ngiti pa niyang sinabi sa akin. Pero ako, hindi pa rin makagalaw. I saw my mom behind Aisha. Anak, ikaw na muna mag-isa dyan ha. Matanda ka na naman. Sabay tawa.
Lalo akong hindi makakalaw na maramdaman kong dahan-dahang gumagalaw ang kama. At nararamdaman kong bumabangon ang kayakap ko kanina. My daughter's face changed. Mukhang nagtataka. She then looked at her Lola and pointed something behind me. Lola, Daddy's not alone, no? Look at the girl waving behind him.
Oh my God.
Right?
Right. Oh my gosh. That was not a happy meal at all. There's something happy about that story.
I
Oh my
wouldn't know
gosh.
what I'd do if I was in this position. I'd sprint.
You know what? I'd like to think that I would run. Parang if you were confronted with something supernatural or something, that you would run. But I've been in that situation before and hindi ka talaga makakatakbo. You're frozen on the spot. Well, that's just me kasi hindi ako nakatakbo. Oh man.
Bueno na lang, hindi niya nakasama sa kama. Nakaupo na lang siya sa edge ng bed. Can you imagine kung video call tapos yakap-yakap pa rin niya yung ano?
Don't even. Sobrang kinikilabutan ako. I would give that story a solid 5 out of 5.
Right?
5 out of 5.
My favorite on the bunch, and I hope you enjoyed it too.
Unfortunately, that is the end of Freaky Friday, the Halloween special. Don't you worry, maybe we'll make a comeback someday.
For Christmas. Ho, ho, ho!
You know naman, you're never alone. We're always right here.
Oh, okay, make sure you keep it locked on Q Radio.
You can follow us at Q Radio 105 FM. You can find me at Lexi Angeles on all my socials.
And you can find me at Mike Tess on Instagram and TikTok and right behind you.
Happy Halloween!